when you're recruiting high school guys or looking at transfer portal guys, what type of play, like what do you value in terms of, or like even when you get to know a player, like you can see his stats, you can pull up video, but what are some of the other things you look for in terms of maybe it's leadership, character, and how do you find out those things about a player?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that go into the recruiting process. I think high school recruiting, Pat, you get to know a kid or a young man way more. You get to know his family. In the portal, it happens so quick. And these guys are getting flooded so much. And, you know, like last year, we were in the 300s, 3-point shooting. And so people are like, well, you need to get 3-point shooting. It's like, yeah, I know that. But we're not an NBA team. You don't draft, you know,
right.
The general public doesn't understand how hard it is to make someone's top 5 list. There's a lot of Power 5 schools with, you know, good campuses. And so one, you got to make someone's top 5. Then you got to get them on camp. Then you got to get somebody to say yes. So sometimes rosters are not balanced. And a lot of it is because you might want a shooter, but you might not be able to get a shooter, or a shooter might cause someone else to transfer. And so there's so many things that go into the landscape of recruiting right now. Like our team right now, as we're sitting today, moving forward, we need more perimeter shooting. So we got to get our guys to become better shooters that are under our umbrella now, that are in our program. Those guys got to get better shooting in order for us to have a successful year like we want to have.
So here's one other thing I'm curious is when you are building for the season, and it may sound crazy, maybe it's just because we just got done with the NCAA tournament, but do you think about building a team for the tournament to win the regular season? Is it, are they connected in any way? Only because you see teams that have really good regular seasons a lot. And we understand that it could just be one 40-minute game, one and done. And that's just the life of the NCAA tournament. How do you think about building your team or peaking at the right times? And what do the strengths and weaknesses of your team?
Well, I think that our job in college basketball is how do we advance in the tournament as long as possible. I think that, SEC regular season, SEC conference tournament, like those are, we would, we're as competitive, like we want to try to win those, no question. Right. I'm not saying we don't, because we know to do that's incredible. But above all, and I learned this at Nevada, like we tried so hard to win conference tournaments, regular season, and maybe I didn't push the team to a point like I had the last 2 years here where, all right, now they know, like, we're not losing another game. Like, we don't want to have another practice like that. Because I felt like after we lost LSU last year, Pat, and we had a practice like we did, and we knew we had to go to Alabama, I knew that Alabama game was in jeopardy based on us having no legs. And Coach Oates said that watching us play looked like we had no legs, but I was willing to sacrifice that 1 week for what might happen down the road. And so I do think it's important that you have long range goals and not just short-term goals.
Yeah, that game, and listen, for everyone listening, it is not easy to go to midweek February game or whenever that was. Maybe it was mid-January, cold, midweek. Oh man, no, it's just difficult to go there anyway. That's the travel side of it. That's the grind. You know that. So what did you learn from let's just say the Duke game? Do you look at that game and then say, like, not change anything, but you must learn from that, right? Learn from your wins and your losses. So what have you learned from last year's tournament, this year's tournament, when it comes to the kind of player you want to bring in or the kind of style you want to play?
Well, I think for sure, Pat, and I think both years, Duke and Baylor were better teams than us. I think if we played them 10 times, we would not win 5 of those 10. I mean, they were better. They were better than us, not just on that given night. They were just better teams than us, quite frankly, and that happens. I thought that strength-wise, body-wise, as a whole, not this individual versus that individual, but just as a whole, the size factor was a little bit different with those 2 teams maybe than other teams. Now, Gonzaga was real big, but their bodies, strength-wise, was not like Baylor. And so it was the size and the strength factor with Duke and Baylor. So we're trying to get a little bit bigger across the board. But style of play-wise, I mean, I think, you got to, whatever your strengths of your team or the roster is, you got to then kind of go in that direction. So this year we found out we're not going to outscore people. We maybe tried to do that earlier. 2 years ago with Mason and Isaiah Joe, like we tried to outscore you. We tried to out 3-point shoot you. Really simple. How do we have 5 more threes than our opponent? Then we can win that game.
Right.
This year it was, how do we stop people? I don't know what it'll be next year until we get everybody here and can kind of figure it out.
Coach, I had my boy Scooney Penn, who I grew up with. He started at BC and Ohio State. Then he got drafted by Atlanta Hawks. I had him on the podcast last week. And he's currently assistant coach for the Grizzlies. And he said that you were the summer league coach. And the reason I bring this up, Coach, he said you jumped out of your seat when you were coaching the summer league for the Atlanta Hawks and yelled. And did a tooth pop out? Did one of your teeth pop out? Did he remember that correctly, or he is so long ago?
No, he did. I got my front tooth knocked out when I was playing pickup ball one time, and it was a tooth that had been permanently, screwed in. and that, I'll tell you what, PB, that was it was in the Boston Shaw Summer League.
Yeah.
We went 7-0, and I think that team had on it. Udonis Haslem was a non-drafted rookie, and we had 3 first-round picks. Cal Bowdler from Old Dominion. Mm-hmm. We had DeMar Johnson from Cincinnati. And Deion Glover from Georgia Tech. And Pete Babcock, our general manager, was overseas, and he kept calling, asking about the summer league. And I kept saying, hey, our best player is Udonis Haslem. No, come on, Muss. We got to worry about our first-round draft pick. I'm telling you. So we kept having these conversations, and Udonis ended up going and playing in Germany, and now look, 18, 19-year pro. But it's so funny. He was better than all of our first-round draft picks on that team.
It was funny because we were in France together, me and UD. And it must have been like 2003, something like that. And yeah, you could tell, man, he was just a different dude. It was too bad because I played in that Shaw Summer League in '99. So I think it was 2000 when you guys did, because Scunia was a year behind me. Coach, I got to tell you, I got the same thing. My tooth is loose, and I'm getting 2 of them replaced next week because I caught an elbow. And as you can see, these are my temporaries right here. When they take these out, I got to wear this thing for like 6 months.
That's not a fun process.
No, but hey, what are you going to do? It's just part of it. You know what I'm saying? That's funny. So do you keep up with, are you able to keep up a lot with the NBA?
Right now. Yep.
Now, yeah.
So right now, I mean, I'll dive in. It's actually funny. I went to work out this morning. I came back. My wife had a surprise for me. So when we were at Arizona State, we didn't own, we rented a place. And the place had 3 TVs. It was a main screen and then 2 on the side. And I could have 3 different things going. Well, I walked in today and we had a bunch of people working on a wall. And so in our main room, we're now going to have 3 TVs. And so she surprised me. So we'll have an NBA playoff game going, the Padre game going, and then whatever my wife wants to watch on the 3rd TV.
Hey, at least you're not in the shed outside anymore, Coach. At least
That's true. No more pool house. Now we got 3 TVs we can share.
Coach, man, I appreciate it. I wanted to have a little bit of fun with you, and I think we did. I appreciate what you do. Represent the university great. Excited. Number 2 high school recruiting class. But come on now, we're there. We're close. And for what it's worth, they say the number 1 transfer recruiting class. So I feel good, man. I feel really good.
Well, thanks, Steve. Yeah. I mean, we had a blast. The greatest thing is I got to see that logo. That logo, give me some ideas for some throwback night. We got to try to make it happen. I'm going to get on the phone with Hunter Yurachek right now and see if we can turn that into a uniform.
I love it, Coach. I love it. I'll be down there in a few weeks to come check you guys out. It's been too long.
I'd love it. We'll get a game of horse, maybe not horse, maybe just lunch, because I know you would take me to the cleaners in horse.
Hey, no, listen. Hey, Leo Papil told me some stories about you in high school, Coach. Come on now.
I almost went to Boston College.
Did you really?
Yeah. Kevin Mackey was the assistant coach.
Yeah.
Gary Williams was the head coach. On my recruiting visit, Michael Adams was my host.
Oh, was he really? He could stroke it. Michael Adams. He had the little hitch in his shot, right? Remember that? Little hitch in his shot.
So good. But they told me that I couldn't come straight from high school, that I had to go to a prep school on the East Coast. My dad was coaching the Cavs. And quite frankly, 5 minutes of watching Michael Adams in practice led me to, I'm going to the University of San Diego. There's no way I'm coming to BC.
It'd have been too cold for you anyway, Coach. You know what I'm saying?
Talent level was way too high for me. University of San Diego, Toreros was perfect.